We're trying to figure out what it is I forgot that I wanted to ask you earlier.
I just want to thank you for playing Paul's tunes to me. It's very nice of you. Wonderful, thank you. I always get it. I sat in a restaurant in Spain, and the violinist insisted on playing Yesterday right in my ear. And then he asked me to sign the violin, and I didn't know what to say. I said, well, actually, okay, and I signed it, and Yoko signed it, and one day he's going to find out that Paul wrote it.
That's better than if they'd played Wedding Bells or Breaking Up That Old Gang of Mine.
I guess so. I guess so.
Maybe I should have saved that for later. You know, well, let's talk about that for a second, because you know, Yoko, you've even been called the Dragon Lady, who the lady who brought the Beatles apart and took them all apart. I have trouble with English.
Can we please give her the credit for all the nice music that George made and Ringo made and Paul made and I've made since they broke up? If she did it.
That's true. Now,
it turned out all right, didn't it?
Yeah.
Anyway,
but you're aware of that. I mean, that the press always saw you as the wedge that was driven in. I don't know how you can drive a wedge in 3 places or whatever, how many spaces there are between 4 people. But that was the. There are millions of girls who would love to have met, let alone married, one of the 4. Any one of the 4, probably, but certainly a lot of them.
Well, I resent to think of him as one of the 4, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, or any one of the 4, etc. Because I just met him as another artist and all that, and I didn't, particularly realize that part of it, really.
You were a Beatles fan before, or would you say you were a Lennon fan before?
Neither.
Neither. Didn't care for either of them?
She didn't really know about us.
No,
the only name she knew was Ringo, because it means apple in Japanese. And so. Ringo means apple.
Ringo means apple.
Yeah.
Did you know that when you named your company Apple?
No.
Oh. It was just one of those happy accidents.
Just one of those happy apples, yes.
Happy applesauce. Right number of syllables.
Christmas.
Ringo, if you spell it sideways, spells groin.
Yes. Star backwards is rats.
I know, and there are a lot of... Do you do those things too? I find that I'm
when
always...
I go along the road in the car, I'm always doing the signpost backwards. Anyway, she didn't split the Beatles, because how could one girl split the Beatles, or one woman, you know? The Beatles were drifting apart on their own, you know.
Can you remember when you realized that it was inevitable that you would split up?
No. It's like saying, did you remember falling in love? Not quite, no. It just sort of happens.
How long was it fun?
Yeah, well, everything's fun off and on, you know. Mm-hmm. So I suppose it could have gone on being fun off and on, or it could have gone worse, I don't know. It's just that when you grow up, we don't want to be the Crazy Gang, which they might know over here, which is British, or the Marx Brothers, which is sort of being dragged on stage playing She Loves You when we've got, asthma and tuberculosis, and when we're 50, Here they are again, yesterday, all my troubles. So a long time ago, I said that I didn't want to be singing She Loves You when I'm 30. I said that when I was about 25 or something, which in a roundabout way meant that I wouldn't be doing whatever I was doing then, at 30. Well, I was 30 last October, and that's about when my life changed, really.
Especially for John, I can say that he's at least sort of outgrown, whatever they were in, Mm-hmm. Because I think it's very difficult for 4 artists who are so brilliant and talented to be together and do everything together, I mean, just impossible almost. So whatever they were doing was almost miraculous, that they were together at all.
With all the pressures and everything that they had.
And,
I guess the Hard Day's Night, everybody thought that was what life really was like for you, and that a man with a handheld camera had managed to capture the essence of Beatle life, and that it was always just flitting about in a lovely, carefree, joyful way.
Well,
was it ever like that?
It wasn't that carefree ever. It was a lot more pressure. That was a sort of comic strip version of what actually was going on, Mm-hmm. Pressure was far heavier than that. And that was written after the author spending about 3 days with us when we played in London and then in Dublin and then back in London again. He wrote the whole of the film based on our characters, clod-hopping Ringo, sharp John, whimsical Paul, and stern George. All those, the Beatle character myths were formed from 3 days watching us, which was a lot of junk, really.
Would you like me to get that for you?
No, thank you.
Oh.
I don't believe
She's
in
a
it.
female lib, you see.
That's why I hesitated, because I've had my fingers snapped off by ladies on the show that I tried to light.
But you do light men's cigarettes as well sometimes, if you feel like it. If you're feeling gay, you know.
Wow. I do.
Well, one does light any sexy cigarettes, Betty Rowling, don't we?
I mean,
John, I
for
interrupted
honest-
you, though. And,
Did you?
I'm sorry. Or,
Yes.
you were
what
saying...
I meant was, as a woman, you know, it's such a nuisance to have to wait for somebody, to, you know, that bit too.
And do you make a point of opening the door for yourself?
No, I don't make a point of it. You know, when I'm tired, it's always very nice if somebody opens. But I don't, you know, at the same time, I don't make a point about just waiting. You know, that is silly too, I think. You know.
Yeah, I think so too. I think I disrupted something there, or I interrupted it.
Well, I
really.
don't
We were
remember.
talking about the fact that the impression in the Beatles movie that was the
Oh, well, that was
sort
it,
of a
really.
comic
that,
strip version of what life's really like.
Well, that was all I had to say, really. It was a
Yeah.
comic strip version, and it sort of stuck with us. And now for a small message from We'll Be Back. Something like that.
He's right about that. We have a station break, and we'll be back.